They're not good enough to start. They're not even good enough to play. But they do talk a good game. So come join Lou and Jose from the sidelines where all the best sports discussions happen anyway. Welcome in to the Benchwarmerz podcast.
Welcome into the program, everybody. I'm Lou Ruggieri, that's Jose Ortiz, and this is the Benchwarmerz podcast. Wherever, whenever, and however you happen to be accessing our fine program, we appreciate you taking some time to spend it with us. We are going to try to make it worth your while, and this is a great show to tune into because we have a just all-star lineup of topics to cover this week. This is our six-month anniversary, I guess, Jose. So I guess it's official. We're officially official. We're in the loop. We're going strong. So happy anniversary, which is something I never thought I'd say to you. That's very strange. I feel weird now. But coming up on this historic show, we have a lot of NFL news to cover because we're in full swing to the NFL season. It's week 5 going to week 6, so we're in the middle of it. Coming up in the second hour, we have to look forward to week 6. We have to kind of recap our sports bet of the week and make some new ones. We have our favorite game, Make No Mistake or Give Me a Break, where we touch on some true or false statements as it pertains to the NFL season up to this point. The top 5 news storylines of the week, chosen by us, coming up in a little bit. But first, we have to switch gears already right out of the gate and talk a little NBA because the NBA season has finally finished. And by the way, you can follow us along. We're part of the iHeartRadio podcasting lineup. We're on Spotify. We're on YouTube. We're on the newly formed Amazon Podcasts, which is super exciting. Apple Podcasts, Google Play. You can follow us along on Facebook, Instagram. We're at the Benchwarmers Podcast with all that. Twitter is at the BW Pod, or you can just email us, plain, simple, old email, thebenchwarmerspodcast@yahoo.com, Benchwarmers with a Z for marketing purposes. And so the Lakers did it. NBA season is officially over. The bubble is officially over. 3 months of quarantine in Disney World. And it's done. I'm sure no one is happier than the Heat and the Lakers. And right off the bat, Jose, I want to get your thoughts. This is now LeBron's 4th ring and the Lakers' 17th championship. They tied the Boston Celtics for the most all-time. And I want to get some initial thoughts right off the bat when you saw LeBron kind of get that 4th ring.
Well, I was happy for the Lakers in general. And first of all, I was happy that the NBA was able to get through the season. The way everything has been going with COVID, you just didn't know. And then the social justice things, I just wasn't sure at a certain point whether they were going to get through to the end. But they got through to the end without any COVID interruptions. And I'm just happy that the Lakers were able to get it done. Everyone knows that I'm a big LeBron fan, so I'm thrilled to see him not only win his 4th championship, but also perform as the best player on the team and get his 4th Finals MVP. And he said something in his post-game interviews. He said, "I want my damn respect too."
Yeah,
and that really struck me because as a LeBron supporter and apologist, I've been wanting LeBron to get respect for a long time as well. He's one of the greatest players of all time. He didn't take the same route that other players did, but here he is basically at the destination that only few players have ever reached. He didn't cheat to get here. He didn't do anything wrong. He did everything within the rules, and he's proven that he's been the best player on 4 different championship teams. I don't know what he has to do to get respect from the consensus NBA world, casual fans, and others. What does he have to do to get the respect that he deserves as basically a top 2 NBA player of all time?
Well, I think LeBron's going to be one of those people that we appreciate after he's done playing. And I wasn't the biggest LeBron fan coming out of the gate, and maybe that was a little bit because I was kind of, I don't like when anybody comes to the forefront and comes to the table saying they're the chosen one or being hoisted up as the chosen one before they've actually done anything. That bothers me. But I have to say, it's taken 17 years, and basically 20 NFL or NBA seasons, counting the playoffs for LeBron, that he's shown to have lived up to the hype and then some, which is a very rare thing if you consider how many people we've tried to hoist up and say they're going to be the greatest ever or one of the greatest ever and have fallen short of that. And LeBron, this championship to me, the thing that stood out, there's a couple things that stood out, specifically starting with LeBron. I almost felt relieved for LeBron. It felt like it would have done more damage to his legacy if he had lost than it does adding to it now that he's won. And, he did make mention of the fact that Lakers fans don't care what you've done before you got there. It matters what you've done once you're a Laker. And now he's done it. And, LeBron has definitely earned my respect. I mean, his resume, and I think that's sort of the thing. I heard somebody, it's kind of going around this week, and I'm not sure who was the one that started it, but just saying that when he's all said and done, LeBron might have the best career in the NBA of all time. And I think
Jeff Van Gundy said that, but yeah, keep going.
If he's the one, then good for him, because I think that sort of toes the line, because we look at a guy like, Michael Jordan, you look at Kobe. I mean, it's hard to change people's minds once they're kind of set in that. And it's like picking your favorite band, where you're like, no, they're the best ever, and you can't change somebody's mind. Mike, watching Jordan, especially after, it just seems so perfect in a way. Such a perfect end to the season between, the tragic loss of Kobe Bryant and his daughter in the beginning of the year, and then everything that happened. And then we saw The Last Dance, where Michael Jordan kind of came back and just said, hey, by the way, I'm still the greatest player ever, and you can all watch, and sort of reestablish himself as the GOAT. And then to see LeBron kind of come around and get this ring on the Lakers in this year, in a year when, I think the asterisk should be, hey, this was harder than any championship ever, where the postseason, there was no home court advantage, and they had the number one seed, and that was completely kind of a moot point. There was a lot here, and I'm just happy to see LeBron kind of get this and get that sort of monkey off his back, at least for a little while.
One of the things that I saw was that there's nothing that LeBron can do to catch Jordan. That's what I've been seeing a lot. Because of the stain of the Dallas Mavericks series, where he actually was held to 8 points in the finals, and Jordan was never held below 22 points in an NBA Finals game. There's basically nothing he can do, and it's not only because of that. It's just the perception of Jordan, which has only grown, as you said, with the documentary and with the years. Everything is so mythicized now around him. It's so legendary. Jordan's never missed a shot. He didn't need any help. He could have won with anyone. He just had scrubs out there with him. People forget that, he didn't have to go join a super team, because they had a super team assembled around him with, whatever we can say, whatever we want about Jerry Krause, but he did do a great job as GM. Phil Jackson, a great head coach. He had great players around him. But I think one of the things that comes down to, and it's always going to come down to for LeBron, is that basketball at its core, right? When you're playing on the playgrounds, before you get to the NBA and all that stuff, it's essentially a one-on-one game, right? It's me versus you. Yep. How many times did you and I play one-on-one basketball? And if you beat me, I wouldn't come back to you and say, hey, I know you beat me, but I've got this other teammate here. And now we're going to go 2-on-2.
Yeah.
And now we're going to see who wins. It doesn't, at its core, basketball is not that type of sport. And I think because we've all grown up believing that basketball is a one-on-one, me versus you type of sport, you shouldn't be wanting to pass at the critical moments. You shouldn't be thinking that my teammate getting the shot is a better shot than me getting the shot if you're the best. And I was reading something like, is it clutch to make the right pass in the last 5 seconds? And there was debate whether it's clutch, because it's all about making the shot. And so I think as long as points are more celebrated than passing, LeBron's not going to get his due in the sense of being compared to Jordan. There's always going to be this ceiling that he can't crack, this aura around Jordan that he can't crack, because he's not that type of one-on-one assassin player. People say that Kobe Bryant is better than LeBron, and I don't actually think it's close. I think LeBron's way better than Kobe. But because Kobe has that one-on-one, I'm going to beat you mentality, it's the perception is hard to beat, to get around.
I think that the way that LeBron could potentially eclipse Jordan is the same way that I think Tom Brady did with Joe Montana, because we sort of resoundingly all just accept now that Tom Brady is the GOAT over Joe Montana. And there's sort of this weird parallel where LeBron is sort of the Tom Brady of basketball, except we don't put him over Jordan like we've accepted Tom Brady over Joe Montana. And I think the way that Tom Brady did it was that he didn't just win as many titles as Joe Montana. He won 2 more. So that sort of erased that marred perfect record that Joe Montana kept. Could say, like, yeah, I never lost a Super Bowl. You know, Brady lost 2, but he also won 2 more. So I think that sort of mitigates that a little bit. So obviously, I mean, it would be hard to say the least for LeBron to win, you know, 4 more championships. I mean, it's probably not going to happen, but it could. And especially, you know, if they put this team back together and make some interesting, you know, they make some good off-season moves. And that's the other thing that kind of struck me with this, is that, number one, I think Rondo should get more credit than he probably has been getting, because playoff Rondo is a lethal player. He reminds me a little bit. He's like the Julian Edelman of the NBA, where it's just playoff time. He just shows up and just crushes. And I'm actually, aside from LeBron, the person I'm happiest for is Dwight Howard, believe it or not. Because Dwight Howard, you know, the worst thing that ever happened to Dwight Howard is that Shaquille O'Neal was in the league before he was. Because Dwight Howard tried to be the next Shaquille O'Neal, and he just does not, you know, I mean, Shaquille O'Neal literally and figuratively is bigger than life. Where he's just, you can't fill his shoes because he's too charismatic, he's too gregarious, he's too fun-loving, you know, he's too generous. And to go from, you know, to be the best center in the league on the Orlando Magic to LA Lakers, you know, that's hard to do after Shaq's just done it. And anything short of what Shaq did was going to be seen as a failure. And Dwight Howard, quietly, by the way, did you know Dwight Howard is only like 2 weeks older than LeBron James?
I did not know that.
It's crazy. He was drafted first pick overall in the 2004 draft. But Dwight has been, just to give you a quick recap, Magic, Lakers, Rockets, Hawks, Hornets, Wizards, back to the Lakers. He's an 8-time All-Star, 5-time first-team All-Star. He's 3-time Defensive Player of the Year, 4-time All-Defensive First Team. He was a 5-time rebounding leader, 2-time block leader. He was a slam dunk champion, which I totally forgot all about.
Yeah.
And now he's an NBA champion. And I think Dwight Howard just may have solidified his place in the NBA Hall of Fame, or the Basketball Hall of Fame.
Yeah, absolutely. He's a lock, in my opinion, to go to the Hall of Fame. And yeah, this is the cherry on top. And just a quick thought on Dwight Howard, who I'm also extremely ecstatic for. For people who want to criticize guys like LeBron or Kevin Durant or whomever for going to join another team to try and win a championship, Dwight Howard is exhibit A and B about what happens when they can't put another good player around you. Dwight Howard got to the NBA Finals and got destroyed by the Lakers because there was no one else there. I can't remember his name. Was it not Desmond Howard? Not Desmond Howard. There was I can't remember the other guy on Desmond something on his team, but that was probably he had no one else. He has a bunch of 3-point shooters, no one good on that team, and they ended up. And you figure he's going to get back to the championship. He's going to have another chance, and you just don't. And that's why when you're in your prime, if you can't trust your management to put a good team around you, would you want to end up being Allen Iverson? You want to end up being one of these players who just retire without a ring, waiting for a good team to be around you? I don't know if that's a better legacy than just going to join another team and being the best player on that team, by the way.
Yeah, and I think LeBron, the other thing that gets lost in this too is exactly what you're saying, where LeBron has been the bastion for player mobility. I mean, he changed the way that entire loyalty dynamic, where he said, no, I want to win. I'm not here to be loyal to a team that isn't helping me win. I'm going to go where I can win. And, we saw that with him, and I fully credit him for doing that. I think, it did start with, I think, Kevin Garnett going to the Celtics, but Kevin Garnett also, he did it both ways, where he suffered through just, a decade of, what do you have, one playoff appearance, I think, with the Timberwolves?
I think they got to the Western Conference Finals that one time when he had Sam Cassell on his team.
Oh, yeah.
And then they were up 2-1 against the Lakers, and then they lost. By the way, the player I was trying to think of was Rashard Lewis. That was on the Orlando Magic. But yeah.
But yeah, and LeBron, the other thing with LeBron is that LeBron is the first superstar we've seen to come into a league with social media. So he's been, things would be much, much different if this was back in the 90s. And, like I said, to start all this, I think LeBron, when it's all said and done, we're going to look back and say, LeBron, it wasn't Jordan. He never tried to be Jordan. He does wear 23, but, he idolized Jordan growing up. But LeBron is basically, John Stockton in Karl Malone's body. I mean, that's more, some of those passes in the finals. I mean, Jordan wasn't a passer. He wasn't, but LeBron is going to go down as probably the second best player of all time, and maybe even more.
Yeah, and he's, the thing is, and I think the last thing I'll say about it, because I do, I'm happy for other players besides LeBron as well, but I think when he retires, even if he doesn't win another championship, he's going to be the all-time leader in scoring, and he's going to have probably top 10 assists, and he's going to be, maybe in the top 30 or so in rebounds. He's going to have a lot of the numbers, and kind of what you said with Tom Brady. For the longest time, I would hold out that Peyton Manning was better because of all the accolades and everything. But after a while, it's just like, man, what am I supposed to say anymore? Like, Tom Brady's got all the numbers now, too. And he's got the championships. So there's really no argument to be had anymore if you're a logical person. You can go by the eyeball test, but we all know the eyeball test is very subjective and inaccurate. And so sometimes you have to, not to say that numbers are perfect measures either, but, you have to use a blend. And so I think LeBron, being the way he cares for his body, doesn't seem like he's trending down. I mean, maybe he's lost a half step of athleticism. Maybe. He's just still in incredible shape. So you would imagine he's got at least 3 or 4 more years left. Yeah. I mean, what can this guy accomplish?
And, the other thing that kind of is annoying with this is, well, actually, the bigger annoying thing is that J.R. Smith now has a ring, which, J.R. Smith, he had his shirt off before the game.
I saw that.
In Game 6. By the way, credit to us, we both called Lakers in 6. Not that that's a crazy prediction, but there were a lot of people that were picking the Heat. J.R. Smith just needs to go away. Homegrown Jersey boy, J.R. Smith, by the way.
I did not know that.
With our state, he was born in Freehold, New Jersey.
Did he even take a shot in the NBA Finals?
I have this right here. In the entire 2019-2020 season, J.R. Smith averaged 2.8 points per game more than I did.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. You can try it out.
He had 0.8 more rebounds than me per game, and he also had half an assist more than I did. So, J.R. Smith, hopefully this is the last time we see you, because that's enough. I'm very upset that Jimmy Butler will not have a championship ring, and now J.R. Smith does. But someone's got to win, someone's got to lose. And speaking of Jimmy Butler, looking on the other side of this, the Heat, I think that it would be remiss to say that this was like a Cinderella story. In a way it was, because no one really expected the Heat to make it this far, but if we watched the Heat beat the best teams in the East. Just like we saw the Lakers, same thing with the Lakers, like the Lakers, the knock is going to be like, well, they didn't do it against the Clippers, but okay, well, the Clippers didn't do it. They didn't make it. they had every opportunity to close out the Nuggets and let them come back from a 3-1 deficit. So the Lakers did beat the Trailblazers. The Lakers did beat the Rockets. The Lakers did throw down the Nuggets, who came back down 3-1 to the Clippers and put them away in 5 games. And then they beat the Heat, who were a good team, and that's all without home court advantage. So the Lakers, you beat who's in front of you.
Yep.
And I think the Heat should deserve respect. I mean, I think that Jimmy Butler has made a case to be, he's superstar status at this point now.
Absolutely.
And I did feel bad that, Dragic got hurt game 1. I mean, that was unfortunate that Bam Adebayo was hurt for the first couple games. I mean, that sucks. That's tough. You want to see a team win against a full team, but Kawhi Leonard did it against the Warriors last year. I mean, that's just, it is what it is. Those are the breaks, sometimes literally and figuratively. So I think that something that I heard earlier today was, not this coming season, but the one after, when Giannis is a free agent, if the Heat could somehow land Giannis, I mean, you're talking about maybe shifting the balance of power back to the East, or at least leveling it off a little bit. Maybe not in terms of the entire conference, but if you put a guy like Giannis, I think that the Heat are, I mean, I don't even know how you would approach them at that point.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really compelling, I hadn't even thought about that. Yeah. Honestly, though, Giannis is the type of player where if you add him to any team, it's going to be great. But yeah, the Heat, I mean, especially with the way they hit 3-pointers and also just mid-range jumpers, and then you get a guy who's kind of gritty and hungry like Jimmy Butler. Yeah, that's a fantastic combination. And actually, I would, if I were Giannis, I think I would be looking to leave. I just don't think a lot of people are wanting to go to the Milwaukee Bucks. Maybe I'm wrong. I could be, I could be, overstating that, but it doesn't feel like it's a prime destination for NBA stars right now. And so then you have to hope that they're going to draft someone late in the first round that's going to make an impact. And based on history of the NBA draft, that's unlikely to happen. You don't usually get impact starters at that, at the upper level anyway, outside of those top 10 to 15 picks. So it seems like the only way he's going to win is either A, they somehow just improve as a team, which then you're relying on everyone else except for yourself, basically, or B, he goes someplace else and where it's already set up. I've been like just really concerned that he's going to somehow manage to get to the Golden State Warriors. Like that's been my biggest fear. But yeah, Miami Heat, yes, that would be great. And as far as Jimmy Butler, he's really solidified himself as one of the best players in the Eastern Conference and the NBA. And it's going to be tough to consider them as favorites next year, assuming the East stays exactly the same. But I think you kind of have to, just based on the way they play together. It's a cliche, but the sum of their parts is greater than the whole.
True, but I think the ultimate test of that philosophy is going to be going against the Brooklyn Nets, who, their pieces are a lot better in theory than the Heat's. But
I mean, it's assuming they can stay healthy all year. I can't remember the last time Kyrie Irving was healthy for a full season. It just feels like it's been a while. Maybe I'm overstating that too, but it seems like it's been a very long time since we could rely on him to stay healthy.
Giannis's brother is on the Lakers too, by the way. I mean, I think that would be, truthfully, I think best fit for Giannis would be the Trailblazers. Honestly, I think that's a perfect situation for a guy like him to play with. And he has Damian Lillard there who can, take center stage and hit those shots, and then you have sort of an inside-outside game that's going to be a force to reckon with. But we'll see. I mean, Giannis is he seems like he's a different dude. So he might end up just staying where he is. But last thing on the Lakers. If I gave you the Lakers or the field next year as far as favorites to win the title, who are you taking?
Well, I mean, I probably would take the field just because it's so hard to repeat. I do think Anthony Davis is going to take another step forward now that he's won that championship. And he's kind of gotten that off of his back. But I really think the Golden State Warriors, they're just a team that I keep thinking about because they're going to have their main 3 guys back. They're going to have I think they have the number 2 overall pick next season. I think they're going to be a very dangerous team next year. And if I had to pick, I think I'd pick them.
I would take the field too, just because it's going to be LeBron's going to be 36. He's a machine, but Father Time is undefeated. And Anthony Davis, this has been an amazing run of health for him. So I don't necessarily want him to stay healthy for an entire full 82 game season. But it wouldn't surprise me if the Lakers are back here again next year. But all right, so that'll do it. Good job, NBA. Perfect ending to a very imperfect season. And so we're going to take a break. We're going to come back. We have to switch gears, and it's time for NFL. We have a whole litany of things to get to for the NFL. So stick around, and we'll be right back with that and more on the Benchwarmerz podcast.
You can reduce your risk of COVID-19 by cleaning and disinfecting frequently touched items and surfaces every day. These items include remotes, tables, counters, light switches, doorknobs, handles, toilets, and sinks. Wear disposable gloves to clean and disinfect. If you can see that the item is dirty, wash first with soap and water or another general cleaner. Then use a household disinfectant to kill germs. Follow manufacturer's instructions for application and proper ventilation to safely use the product. For phones or other electronics, follow the manufacturer's instructions for cleaning and disinfecting. If no instructions, use alcohol-based wipes or sprays containing at least 70% alcohol. Dry surface thoroughly. For more tips, visit cdc.gov.
Welcome back to the Benchwarmers podcast, where being all talk is actually a good thing. Now, back to the action. Or talk, I guess.
Welcome back to the program, everybody. I'm Lou Ruggieri, that's Jose Ortiz, and this is still the Benchwarmers podcast. Appreciate you taking some time to spend it with us. Our show, cruising right along, our 6-month anniversary show, moving right along. We touched on some NBA, the Lakers winning the championship last segment. Coming up next hour, we have Make No Mistake or Give Me a Break, our true-false segment. That's always a hit. We have to look forward to Week 6 and make some picks for that. But first, we have to get through the top 5 storylines of Week 5. And actually, it's going to be a top 6 storylines because we just got some breaking news before the show started. Full disclosure, we record the show on Tuesdays. And the Jets just released Le'Veon Bell. So this is kind of a bonus storyline. This is a 6th storyline in the top 5 storylines of the week. And Jose, right off the bat, what team do you think benefits the most from releasing Le'Veon, or from signing Le'Veon Bell?
I would say from releasing is definitely the Jets, but no, from signing, I think about the Buffalo Bills. I've been going back and forth on it. I think any team really could benefit from signing him, but I just don't know that Zach Moss or Devin Singletary are the answers right now.
Yeah,
and perhaps Le'Veon Bell getting a change of scenery, going to a place where they're actually playing meaningful football games.
Well, any place that's not the Jets really is going to be an upgrade.
And maybe, I don't know, maybe Devin Singletary is just not a 3-down back, and he just needs to be spelled by someone like Le'Veon Bell. I think he needs to go to a contender. You don't sign him on a team that's middle of the pack or whatever. He needs to go to a team that has a chance to go deep into the playoffs this year. So, perhaps the Browns, they just lost Nick Chubb for quite some time. Maybe they could use Le'Veon Bell. But yeah, the Bills are my top choice.
Yeah, there's a couple teams that come to mind, and I think Le'Veon Bell, if you remember in his pre-Jet days when he actually had something to show for his talent on the field, I think a couple teams immediately come to mind, and that the Packers, the Raiders, and even the Seahawks, I think, come to mind. And you might say, well, they all have viable starting running backs. But I think that Le'Veon Bell, he reminds me, if he can get back to form, he reminds me a little bit of Alvin Kamara in a way. He's not quite as fast as Alvin Kamara, but in that way that he can be equally a receiver and a running back, and a changeup where you kind of have that thunder and lightning. And if you look at the Packers, the Packers could make that Jordan Love drama go away real quick if they got Le'Veon Bell and use him as you have Aaron Jones, who is kind of a 3-down, bash you in the face back, and then you have think of what Aaron Rodgers could do with a weapon like Le'Veon Bell, where you can line him up in the slot. You can put him outside. There's the same thing with Russell Wilson. And I think even the Raiders, with having the biggest offensive line in football, you have Josh Jacobs, but then Le'Veon Bell benefits from having, that Pittsburgh offensive line was great when he was there because of his running style needs a good blocking scheme, and I think that the Raiders could benefit too.
All the teams you said would be good because here's the thing. It's very difficult to be an effective running back on a bad offense because when everyone knows, unless you're Barry Sanders or I guess Christian McCaffrey more recently, when you're on a bad team and on a bad offense,
you're not running the ball.
Yeah, you're just not. And also you're falling behind early, so then you're not you're kind of game planned out. Or teams are like, well, we're not worried about Brashad Perriman beating us, so we're just going to stand in the box here and let Le'Veon Bell beat us. Or we stop Le'Veon Bell from beating us, I should say. And so going to one of these teams where he's not the focal point, not the number one, or not the only guy who can beat you, I think would be very, very helpful. Just like when he was in Pittsburgh. There was a lot of guys who could beat you, so it was hard to completely focus on him.
Yeah, honestly, I think the Steelers should probably take a look at him. I think that he had some magic there with Ben, and James Conner is not the stalwart of health every week. He gets banged up a lot. Snell is good, but if they could bring him back, I think that'd be a very interesting reunion and a very interesting complementary piece to what's turning out to be a very formidable Pittsburgh offense.
Yeah, he just needs to go to a place that has a strong culture. The Jets were maybe the worst possible landing spot because of their
who could
trash.
Going to the Jets.
That's true.
Is there one person that could go to the Jets who could do anything but bad?
It's been a long time since someone that could say maybe Rex Ryan. That's about it.
Yeah. So, all right, that's sort of a bonus to our top 5 storylines of the week. One team that does not need a running back, but does need a new starting quarterback is the number one story on our list this week. Dak Prescott, gruesome ankle injury, a season-ending surgery. He had a compound fracture that was just horrific. And the Cowboys did manage to squeak out a win over the pathetic Giants 37-34. And I guess technically are leading the NFC East. I guess. I don't know. It feels like I don't know if anybody knows that they're supposed to try to win games.
But they're not losing it. They're not losing the NFC East at this point.
Before I get to this, our stat of the week I'm going to throw in right now. Our stat of the week is about how bad the Cowboys defense really is. So in the first 4 games, in this game, the Giants scored 34 points against the Cowboys.
Mm-hmm.
In the first 4 games combined, the Giants scored 38 points.
Wow.
So that's our stat of the week, is just the Cowboys defense. There is no D in Dallas. Well, just the Dallas Cowboys. Yeah. That's what they're going to be.
And you keep waiting for it to turn around, and it somehow it gets worse every week. Their defense, I think that they've bottomed out on defense at this point, but they give 49 up to the Browns a week ago. I think giving 34 up to the Giants this week with no Saquon. Did you see Devonta Freeman looking like it was 2014 out there?
Yeah,
it was. I feel really, really, really bad for Dak Prescott. We disagreed on this, but I think he's a great quarterback who was only getting better. And you never want to see anything like this. That injury, at first, I was hoping that it just wasn't serious. Maybe I just didn't see it right. And when they slowed it down and showed the replay, I knew that that was his season. It was over.
Yeah.
And now there's a lot of uncertainty surrounding his future in Dallas, and uncertainty what the Cowboys can do this season. Long term, Jerry Jones has come out and said that Dak is still their future. I don't know if those are just words, but he did say that. I don't know what his value is right now. He is supposed to be ready for the start of next year.
Yeah.
I don't know how you could invest the long-term contract into a guy who's just coming off of an injury like this. So we'll see. And Andy Dalton, it does seem like a smart signing now in the offseason to get a good veteran quarterback. I've been saying it that all teams should be doing stuff like this. So I think that you can expect the Cowboys to kind of be around 75% of their offensive efficiency this year for the rest of the season with Andy Dalton at quarterback. And I think it'll still be good enough to win that division, which is maybe the worst division of all time.
Yeah, it's the NFC least is in full effect. I think, Cowboys fans, ironically, should be channeling sort of their inner Nick Foles. I mean, I know when Carson Wentz got injured, it was far later in the season. And then Nick Foles came in and won them a championship. So it has happened under very different circumstances. But I think Dak has basically signed himself up for another year of the franchise tag. Honestly, I think that would be the most prudent thing to do, was from a Cowboys business perspective. I do think that, I know Jerry Jones got a ton of heat for this after Dak got injured, and I will say that it's not all deserved, because they did offer Dak a very reasonable and close to what he was looking for amount of money. I think they wanted to give him a 5-year deal instead of a 4-year deal was the big kind of sticking point. And they wanted, because the Cowboys wanted to spread that money over a longer period of time to kind of deal with salary cap. And Dak wanted to get back into the pool, sooner. And who knows how much of that was his agent. But I mean, being the Cowboys quarterback, you're going to be, you're signing up for basically an additional, $10 million a year in sponsorship deals. So, it's unfortunate for everybody. I mean, nobody wins with this kind of injury, and it's a shame to see, because Dak does have all the intangibles, and his tangibles are getting better. He's never missed a start. I give that to him. I know I talk a lot of smack about him, but I mean, nobody wants to see anybody get hurt, especially a guy of his character. And Andy Dalton is serviceable. I mean, he's been a Pro Bowl quarterback. He seems to do well when there's talent around him, and he has plenty of talent around him. So that I think not the bigger loss, but almost equally as bad as losing Tyron Smith for the year with a neck injury. Tyron Smith is a Hall of Fame left tackle, so that I think is just as devastating to,
if not more,
to the Cowboys.
If not more, because you would imagine they're going to lean on their running game a lot more. Zeke is going to get the ball more and more, and now you lose maybe the best offensive lineman in the game, or top 10 certainly. And Andy Dalton's going to need time to throw the ball. Like, it's never good to lose starting offensive lineman of that caliber. And so I actually wasn't aware that he was out for the season. So that's another devastating blow. I don't like to throw around words like cursed or anything. It just feels like the Cowboys are a bit cursed this season. They got the miracle win that they didn't deserve against the Falcons, and it just, ever since then, it just feels like, I don't know, the defense has been playing terrible. Now you lose Dak. Now you lose Tyron Smith. It's not good.
I mean,
they'll probably win the division because the division is terrible, but their defense is so bad that they won't win a game. There's no way they win a postseason
honestly,
game.
I mean, I think, and this is the last thing I'll say because we do have to move on, but
yeah.
I think that this injury, the silver lining with an injury like this for Dak is that, and not that I wanted it to happen, of course, but I think Dak came into the league basically with being, his career was served up to him on a silver platter, where he didn't have any adversity because he was surrounded by the best offensive line in football, the best running back in football, great receivers, a coach who was a backup quarterback who could help him along. He had this perfect storm of circumstances where, you look at a guy like Joe Burrow who comes in and just is getting pancaked 10 times a game. I think that some adversity now that Dak's going to have to battle back through, because you see it in games. The Cowboys constantly get knocked down, and they always come back when they're down. So they battle back from adversity, and I think in a way that this might benefit Dak from a psyche standpoint, where he can see that he can overcome seemingly insurmountable obstacles. And I hope that, this is my hope for him. I hope that, because that's the only thing that's really missing from his game, is just the ability to kind of close it out and finish it off. And so maybe having to overcome some physical adversity will help him overcome some mental adversity when he gets back on the field.
Okay.
We'll see. All right. So we wish him the best. Second news story of the week, top 5 news storylines of the week, chosen by us. Number 2, the Las Vegas Raiders hit a jackpot, 40-32 over the Chiefs. Wow. I mean, wow.
Yeah,
that's all I got.
I was waiting for this in-depth analysis, but yeah, wow, it's the best thing you can come up. Yeah, no, that's what I was saying the whole game, because you keep expecting. You're watching the game. You keep expecting the Raiders to fall apart, or the Chiefs to come back. And I think the Raiders unlocked a secret formula that's not so secret. You just have to keep scoring. Like the 49ers last year in the Super Bowl had the Chiefs beat, but they stopped scoring. Yeah. You can't hold this offense. You're not going to hold the Chiefs offense down for that long. You might stop them a drive or two. You might hold them scoreless for a quarter or a half. But at the end of the day, they're going to get theirs. And your offense has to put pressure on them. Their offense went up 16 points in the fourth quarter and made it like, well, we need a miracle now to come back. I mean, that's really what happened. You put up 40, you give your defense a chance against the Chiefs. That's how good the Chiefs are. Kudos to the Raiders. They were one of my preseason picks as a surprise team to go far. I know they're 3-2. I don't want to start taking victory laps right now, but I believe in the Raiders this year that they're a good team, and they just have to put it together for a full season. I'm very happy for them. You can't do better going into a bye week.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the Bill Belichick sort of offered up a template with this, and with the defense, because if you watched that game, the Raiders didn't really blitz Mahomes. They dropped 7 people back in the secondary, and I mean it goes to show. Kurt Warner famously said, he loved getting blitzed because that meant somebody was open, and a guy who was as good as Kurt Warner was always found the guy. I mean, or not always, but I mean most of the time found that open guy. And Patrick Mahomes is even better than Kurt Warner. So that's been the secret of football for a while. Like that's what the Giants did to the 07 Patriots as well. If you can find a way to get pressure on the quarterback without blitzing, that's what you do. Yeah, and the Raiders have talent. Henry Ruggs looks like a great addition. He's the speedster that they were missing. Darren Waller is a monster. I mean, he's just such a he's almost like DK Metcalf in a way, where he's just so big and so fast that he defies a position. Yeah. And the Raiders' offensive line, have you seen Trent Brown is the biggest human being I've ever seen in my life. He's 6'8" and like 380 pounds. He's just, I mean, Josh Jacobs should be buying him dinner every night, and he might go broke doing it, but it's incredible. So good job to the Raiders, man. That was
impressive win.
That was a statement game for sure. And Derek Carr, good job. I'm impressed. I think he's got something to prove, and he's starting to prove it. Okay. Storyline number 3, speaking of good quarterback play, Russell Wilson snatches victory from the jaws of defeat, last-second touchdown to beat the Vikings 27-26. And this game was a lot closer than I expected it to be. I mean, the Seahawks defense is not very good, and without Jamal Adams, it's really not very good. I think Justin Jefferson, although he didn't do much in this game, is proven to be pretty good. And the Vikings have a plan, and they executed it to perfection. I think Dalvin Cook had 17 carries in the first half, and then he got hurt. He had a groin injury in the second half, and that kind of threw a monkey wrench in everything. And I think we've seen Kirk Cousins is not a drop back and throw it passer. I mean, I think he's the limiting factor for this team right now. And we saw Russ Wilson do what Russell Wilson does. That's just how it's just MVP, man. Just give it to him now. Yeah, no, he keeps building these MVP credentials, and there's so many differences between Kirk Cousins and Russell Wilson. But the one thing that I came away with from that game, when the Vikings held the Seahawks to 45 total yards on offense in the first half of that game. 45 total yards. This is one of the best offenses in the game. But when you have a great quarterback like Russell Wilson, you cannot hold him down all game long. You cannot stop him all game long. If you keep the game close, he's going to come back and bite you.
and that's not what Kirk Cousins gives you. Kirk Cousins kind of needs everything to be going well, and then all of a sudden he's doing foul. Kirk Cousins is great. He's hitting all his passes. Russell Wilson, nothing was going right for this team.
Mm-hmm.
He was throwing interceptions. Guys were not. There weren't really running lanes, and then he finds a way to win with I think it was 15 seconds left on the clock, and that's how good he is. Him, Aaron Rodgers, and Patrick Mahomes. I think that's it. Those are the top 3 quarterbacks in the NFL right now. Where if they have the ball they're down 1 score and they have the ball with a minute left, game over. They're going to come back and win. So you have to be able to put some distance in between you and them, or at least keep it close, or at least keep yourself where a touchdown won't beat you. Which is why I didn't agree with the call with the Vikings to not kick the field goal and just go up 8.
Yep.
Just go up 8 and give your team 2 chances now, right? Because now they have to score a touchdown and they need a 2-point conversion. You give your team 2 chances to win this game, and they didn't do that. So,
I agree.
I mean, I guess in retrospect, they did go for it, and then you could say, well, they were going for the win. I'm never a big fan of that. Never a big fan of that. Take your points.
In that situation, I think you take it and you get that, you build on that lead. You can't afford to not get it, as we saw. So, yeah, not surprising the Seahawks won. It was a little surprising how close it was, how close they were to losing. 4th storyline of the week in our top 5 storylines, Cleveland Browns win a battle of 3-1 teams, knocking off the Colts 32-22. The Cleveland Browns are 4-1 for the first time since, any guess, Jose?
2000.
1994. just to give you some context on how long ago that was. Here's some things that happened in 1994. New movies were Shawshank Redemption and Forrest Gump. The cost of a house in 1994, the average cost of a new house was $119,000.
Wow. The
average income was $37,000. The price of a gallon of gas was $1.09. A movie ticket cost $4.08. Bill Clinton was president. O.J. Simpson was in a police chase in a white Ford Bronco. Major League Baseball began their 232-day strike. And those are all old. That's Lion King and True Lies were also movies that came out. Popular musicians were Sheryl Crow, Rod Stewart, Bryan Adams, and Janet Jackson.
Wow.
So that's how long ago that was. That the last time that the Cleveland Browns were 4-1. Bill Belichick, their coach, by the way. Not surprising. Yeah. So, good job to the Cleveland Browns, and I think that the Browns, they finally figured it out. Hey, we run the ball better than we pass it, and Kevin Stefanski, I think should just be given Coach of the Year now, and I hope that Freddie Kitchens is somewhere on a hot dog truck. I think that this is the best example of how important coaching is in the NFL.
Yeah, one of the things, I don't want to take anything away from the Browns. The Browns, great, and I'm happy for Baker Mayfield. I'm happy that the Browns are actually starting to feel like a winning team. But man, I'm just really lamenting my pick of the Colts as being these dark horse Super Bowl favorites because their quarterback is so bad. I didn't think that it would be possible to be worse than Jacoby Brissett was last year.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm starting. Phillip Rivers. I just don't understand what's going on. He just doesn't belong on an NFL field right now.
Not as a starter.
2 interceptions.
Not as a starter.
So
he's the literal personification of old man River. I mean, he's washed up.
Yeah, absolutely. So. Impressive win by the Browns, especially because the Colts do have a very strong defense, one of the best defenses in the NFL. So, still an impressive win. And I think that the AFC North is going to be much tighter than we realized, I think.
Yeah, I agree. And I do have a bit in our Make No Mistake or Give Me a Break that pertains to the Colts, as a matter of fact. So stay tuned for that a little bit. And the AFC North, yeah, I mean, that division is making a strong case for best in football.
Yeah.
And so finally, our last top news story of the week. Not surprisingly, Dan Quinn fired as head coach of the Falcons following yet another disturbingly bad loss. The Falcons are 0-5, and surprisingly, the Panthers are 3-2 without Christian McCaffrey since week 1. I mean, that's I guess. I mean, Matt Rule, good job. Dan Quinn, time to leave. It's this is to say it's a disappointing season for the Falcons is an understatement. But I think that it was about time to put Dan Quinn out of his misery. This was going to happen sooner or later, so at least it happened sooner.
All I'll say about the Falcons, if I'm Arthur Blank, or I don't know who their general manager is, I know Arthur Blank's the owner of the Falcons, I get on the phone right now, call the Colts, and say, take Matt Ryan and Julio Jones, give us a first-round pick or whatever you can negotiate for them, because you would have to think that they would instantly be upgraded over whoever they have there. Right? Michael Pittman's out, Paris Campbell's out at wide receiver. You would imagine Julio Jones, if he's healthy, can come in and take over as the number one. And, I mean, I'm not sure that you wouldn't be a better quarterback than Phillip Rivers. You might be afraid of getting hit. That would be the only issue. If you got used to getting hit by 300-pound guys.
He is taller than I am. That's the only problem.
Yeah.
Kyler Murray's about, we're close to
Can't coach height.
Yeah. Faster than I am, but that's fine.
It's time for a full rebuild, and you got to get rid of Matt Ryan and Julio Jones right now while they still have any sort of value. And how does Adam Gase still have a job? Dan Quinn got fired. How on earth does Adam Gase still have a job with the Jets? He's
got to be next. I mean, there's no way. Bill O'Brien, Dan Quinn. I mean, the dominoes should start falling. I don't know. Woody Johnson maybe I don't know, maybe he lost a bet to somebody and to keep him on for another week or something. But you have to imagine that also being 0-5, that Adam Gase has to be next on this list. So, all right, that'll do it for hour one. We got to take a break and pay some bills, and so we're going to take a break. Come right back with we have a couple things to deal with. We have to look ahead to week 6 already and talk our money bets. Put your money where your mouth is, our sports bet bit for the week. And then coming up next, our favorite game, Make No Mistake or Give Me a Break. It's going to be a series of statements that are true or false, and we're going to decide whether they are fact or fiction, more or less. And that's coming up. So you can follow us along iHeartRadio podcasting app. We're on Spotify, YouTube, the newly formed Amazon Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Google Play. You can follow us on social media. We're on Facebook and Instagram, the Benchwarmerz Podcast. We're on Twitter, at the BW Pod. You can even email us, the Benchwarmerz Podcast at yahoo.com, Benchwarmers with a Z for marketing purposes. So stick around, and we're going to come right back on the Benchwarmers.
Thanks for listening to the Benchwarmers Podcast. Follow along with us on the Benchwarmers Podcast on Facebook and Instagram. And don't forget to review us on iTunes, Google Play, or wherever you get your podcasts.